Going into sophomore year of high school, I think most weekends were drinking cocaine and some pills. I had a great time even into my first year of college, and then I didn't. And then it got really bad. It went so fast. My opiate addiction, I think like that. I was a daily user and I was a daily all-day user. I couldn't go through the night without getting sick. So in the morning, whenever I wake up, I'm dry heaving. I'm probably vomiting. My stomach is in knots. I've got the body aches and I'm cold sweating until I can take that first hit, and then I'm good. I thought this is how it was gonna be forever. I truly thought I would never figure it out.
So in 2015, what changed? What started the process of sobriety?
I went into treatment for the 6th time. It was my first time doing it truly, honestly, no reservation. That's the only difference, is that I actually applied myself. I can't explain it. It worked. It truly works. My career, sobriety, every single thing that I've kind of accomplished has been small steps in the right direction, just one more time. Just like today, if the most I can do is just one step in the right direction, that's great.
All right, today on the podcast, we have Mitch Ammons. And Mitch, this has been a long time coming. I don't know how we haven't sat down yet up until this point in our personal relationship and professional relationship.
Yeah.
So officially welcome to the show.
It's funny. I think the first time I ever talked to you before your sub 5 mile, you had asked me about this podcast, like 2019.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that the first time we ever met in person?
Yeah.
So
we met at, no, we had met at the track a couple times prior to your 5-minute mile.
Briefly.
Yeah. Austin High Track.
And then you paced me for my first
Sub
5-minute mile.
At Zilker.
And you were just cruising. I remember that.
I was
in the pain cave and you were speaking to me casually as I was wheezing.
I think I was yelling
towards the end.
Yeah.
Dude, I never will forget that run because I went to a dark place and I collapsed at the end in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
And we filmed all of this, and I'm in the middle of the road sitting down, just trying to collect my thoughts and figure out where I'm at. And all these cars are driving around me and honking.
Yeah.
And we included that in the video and everyone gives me crap for it in the video. Really? But I was so out of it that I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, no, I've been there and I've been in the middle of traffic and just been like, I don't have enough energy to care.
You just drained it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, so there's a lot of stuff I want to cover today.
Okay.
But your lifetime PR in the marathon, 2 hours, 16 minutes.
In 1 second.
In 1 second.
Correct.
Your half marathon PR, 1 hour, 5 minutes, 31 seconds.
104.28.
Oh, really? When was that?
That was a year ago in February, I think.
104.28.
104.28.
What pace is that?
It's like 4:53.
That's
4:52.
Incredible. Incredible. Because your marathon PR is roughly a 5:11, 5:12.
Yeah, exactly. 5:11.
Minute per mile pace.
Yep.
And you're a marathon runner, recently turned ultra marathoner.
Yeah. Tell
me about that.
Ooh. I actually remember in the middle of the race, Tony was like, I think you're an ultra runner now. And I'm like, no, I just want to be a washed up marathoner. And he goes, isn't that what an ultra runner is? And I was like, great point. But yeah, I did my first, I guess I did the BPN 50 miler a year ago, but
you won it.
I did win it. And that was really fun. That was kind of my intro. And then I went all in this last man standing. And that was probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest experience in running that I have ever experienced.
So the last man standing, BPN Gilmore Ultra, you did 30 hours.
30 hours, 126 miles.
126 miles. Before that, the longest you ever ran, it was
50.
The 50 miler.
And before that, 26.2.
Right.
Yeah.
What is it that's drawing you away from marathons to ultras? Because in this last 2 years, you've done the BPN Survive the Night 50 miler. Then we did the Speed Project together, which I'd love to talk about your experience there.
Yeah.
And then the Go and More Ultra 126 miles. What's the draw? And why now?
I hate to say it, but the vibes. Like, it's just incredible out there. Everyone's, I don't, it's just in the marathon, and it doesn't seem like it'd be quick, but it's just quick. Like, you're not out there getting to know anyone. You're not out there enjoying it, really. I mean, it's 26.2 miles of like, you're on from the gun. In ultra, there's just so many ups and downs. You're getting to know, at least in my experience, you're getting to know the people out there because you're out there a long time. And there's plenty of time. I feel like you can line up on the starting line and nothing really matters. Like, if you have a stomach ache, doesn't matter. If you're tired, doesn't matter, because you have literally the next 24 hours to work it out. Right? Like, my biggest fear in races is like stomach issues, but I'm like, in an ultra, it literally doesn't matter. You can pull over to the side, or you can take your break and then keep going again. I think it is, and then I guess I'll get into like the challenge. Like, obviously that's a huge part of it. The marathon is for sure challenging, right? I'd say it's more the training that's challenging. The race is kind of like the victory lap, sort of, because as long as you've done the training, aside from like things out of the ordinary, you're gonna have a good race, right? Like, the training can indicate how your race is gonna go. In an ultra, I don't think the training can indicate at all how the race is gonna go, because there's so many different things that can go wrong, ups and downs. You can be, obviously there's a fitness aspect to running ultras, but I don't think the fittest person is the winner 9 times out of 10. Like, there's so much more that goes into it. And I'd never had to push that hard in my life. And I've pushed very, very hard in a lot of different things. But just moments in there where I couldn't even take another step, and just knowing that I just have to take one more step, and then one more step, and then one more step. And, try and do the things that'll bring me back, like eat and drink, and then you come back from it, and then you keep going again. That's
actually a really good observation, that the marathon is a very individual sport.
For sure.
Like the prep and the build and the process can be community driven.
Sure.
Where one of my first introductions to you and Jeff in Bat City was Wednesday mornings in Austin, rotating every other week between the East Side Loop and then Austin High Track.
Yep.
And the community, the environment, that for me drew me in.
Oh yeah.
Significantly. But then the closer you get to race day and the race day itself, it is all you.
Yeah.
Which I think has pros and cons to it. But the ultra space is so different because it is truly this community, like you said, vibes, and you're doing this thing collectively together.
Yeah. I feel like everyone out there in an ultra wants everyone to continue to go. Like, at least my experience was like, even Kim and Kendall, when I did end up dropping, Kim was like, come on, time to go, let's go. Like, trying to get me to come back out there.
Encouraging the other person.
I can't tell you how encouraging Kim and both Kendall were throughout the whole race. Like, Kim especially, I had moments where I was like, I would pass him or he would pass me, and I'd be like, just checking in, how you doing? And he'd be like, I'm great. And I'd be like, I can't fucking think or step or do anything. I can hardly see because I'm so exhausted. And then he would like talk to me for a little bit and kind of just tell me like, there's ups and downs and you can bounce back, and like, just get through this one, and little things like that. And I can't tell you how encouraging and how much of a difference that made for me. Like, I almost quit. I think there were 3 different times that I considered quitting. And because of the people out there encouraging me, I didn't.
Yeah.
And that was literally it. The only reason. I think when I did actually quit, obviously I'll probably touch on that later, but the fact that there was nobody out there anymore, I had a lot less motivation to get back out there. Like, it was so much easier and way more fun with the collective group. It was as miserable as it was enjoyable the whole time.
Yeah. As a elite marathon runner, what was your perception of the ultra marathon before getting into it? Like, did you view the ultra marathon space and community as true athletes prior to experiencing your first ultra?
I do think I considered them I consider ultra runners absolutely like great athletes. I just think it's so different from running marathons.
It's very different.
Especially like at the level I'm running marathons. I did well in the ultra, but I don't think being a good marathoner is why I did well. I think it's different. I think it's two separate things. But yeah, I think I probably looked at it as like, oh, it's a hobby, you know, until I did one. And then I realized there's nothing hobby about it. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
I think that is the stigma around ultra running from people who haven't done an ultra marathon is because running an ultra, the best way I've seen it described is it is literally problem solving.
Oh yeah.
You are problem solving the entire way through.
For sure.
Physical problems, mental issues, your mind and body is trying to quit and stop.
Multiple problems at the same time.
You're trying to stay on top of fuel and food and your toes and your feet and all these things. So for an elite athlete outside of the ultra space looking in, you're watching these athletes, these runners, eating a slice of pizza or a quesadilla, you know, throughout the day in the middle of a race. And it's really easy to say or assume, oh, that's not what elite athletics looks like. But the reality is, it's just so different.
Yeah.
It's so different.
Totally. And I think that prior to the race, I went to the grocery store and got all different stuff, not knowing why or what. I just but looking back at the race and coming back into the little camp, I'm so glad I did, because it wasn't like, what are you hungry for? It's like, what can you stand?
Right.
Like, what can you even manage to get down? And I'm glad I had options, because there was really weird things and different things at different times that I was able to get down. And but yeah, just on top of what you said, it's one problem after another and preventative even. Like my feet were great the whole time, but I was adamant about washing them, changing my socks, changing my shoes and letting the wet shoes dry. And I mean, the 50 miler, my feet were messed up, like completely trashed. That was actually probably the thing that hurt the worst were my feet. But this was my feet were probably the best out of everything.
Yeah, during the 50 miler, the course wasn't as groomed.
No, I think that, what were you going to say? Sorry.
I was just going to say that potentially, I mean, were your feet getting wet during the 50 miler?
They were wet. They were both soaked both races.
Oh, both races.
I mean, I'm a sweater. Yeah, it's
You're also pouring. We have so many photos of you pouring so much water all over you, which could be it.
I think I don't think anyone would have made it without those ice coolers.
No, so many people mentioned that.
It was like a race within the race. Like, it's just get to the water cooler, and then it was like a refresh. I remember thinking a couple of times, like, if I don't get to this ice cooler in a second, I'll have to stop. I can't. I'm so hot. I cannot do this. And then it would appear. This is kind of funny. It took me until my 30th lap to realize that the coolers were at the mile markers. And the whole time, is that right?
To be honest, I don't know. Tony put those.
They were
out.
at the mile markers. I figured it out. And that's why there were two close together, because we had it for one loop and then it was, but yeah, they were at the mile markers. And I wish I would have known, because I used someone else's watch and then I messed my watch up. And the whole time I'm like, I just wish I knew where 1 mile was, 2 mile was.
Right.
But I did it 30 times. You think I'd figure it out, but it wasn't until the last lap I realized, wait, the coolers are at a mile.
Well, who took lead on building out your guys' campsite? Because your guys' campsite was...
did.
Oh, that was you. That was a 5-star...
It was.
Privately owned boutique hotel.
It really was. Yeah, it was nice. I was adamant about being the first one there. I wasn't the first one. True, it was. But we were right behind him. And I knew it was going to make a difference to have our space in the right spot and have it comfortable and have a tarp to sit on to keep the grass out. I'm really glad I did it. I will do the same thing next year, because it was awesome.
I mean, to provide people insight into what that looked like, I walked up, there was a grill, there was an espresso maker, there was a cold plunge, a mobile cold plunge, all of the snacks, all of the food. You could have lived there for probably like 3 months.
Oh yeah, yeah.
How did you guys power the espresso maker?
We just had like large power banks.
Okay.
Like box sized power banks. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys were ready.
Yeah, we were ready.
I mean, it was a vibe. Just like I would go over there and just hang out in there because like, it was cool. There was food.
Oh man.
It was loungy. It was nice.
It was nice. And it honestly, like under there, the little breeze, like it saved us, the shade under there. It was really nice.
So before we started recording, You mentioned that the Last Man Standing Ultra and the Speed Project were two of the greatest things you've done in your life.
Yes.
Can you kind of describe
and
why?
to clarify, not done in my life as far as running, but like two of the coolest things I've done in my life at all, like overall. I don't really know. I mean, the Speed Project was unbelievable. Like, I think it was our team. It was the people that we had in our vans or in our Jeeps and in our RVs. Every one of us is a go-getter. Every one of us is a team player, encouraging incredible athletes. And then we just were all great friends. And, honestly, I didn't know Lucy. I guess, I don't even think I knew Joey. I don't think I knew really... I didn't know Ken, but either way, like after that first day, like we all clicked, and
it was very, very seamless.
Yeah, it was seamless, and I think that's what did it. Like I am a community-driven person. I mean, I obviously like running and competing, but I would not do it if it wasn't for the community. If I didn't have people to run with pretty much every single run, I probably wouldn't do it. If I had to train alone, I probably wouldn't do it. I do it for the friends, the community, the people, and then fitness and competition is like a byproduct and a bonus. But yeah, I just gotta attribute the people. I mean, like our team was so cool and
it was so much fun.
Also, like, and this, I try and touch on this every time, but like your media guys, like they're the greatest dudes I've ever met. Every single person that you hire is incredible. Always a great friend of mine, and supportive and having a great time as well. And they're freaking go-getters. Like you have the athletes, go-getters, but then you have the media team and the crew that are literally also go-getters, like up all night with us, working just as hard as we are.
Yeah, we set the same standard for
sure you do.
For who is a part of this organization and this team, whether you're an athlete, whether you're fulfilling orders in the warehouse, you're filming videos, you're on the leadership team, anything. I believe that if you establish your core values, your purpose, and your goals, and people align with those things, that is the only way to get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
And win and succeed. And if you allow one person, or you flex, you bend, and you allow one person on that team who doesn't meet that standard, it takes everyone from being an A player to a B player instantaneously.
Yeah.
It's by having one wrong person. So I appreciate you recognizing that, because I put a lot of time into that
I've
curation.
recognized it. And I also like the new guys that I meet and kind of get to know. I'm like, you should feel really good that you're here because you were handpicked. Like handpicked.
Yep.
And I truly believe that goes as far as the athletes, the employees. Just what you said is what I believed. Glad that you have confirmed that. But yeah, I don't know. Speed Project, greatest thing ever. I mean, it was also very, very hard, very, very challenging. Getting lost and facing like danger was so exhilarating.
Yeah.
Like, I love that shit.
I mean, every part about the Speed Project was so unique and different.
Oh yeah.
I mean, for anyone who isn't aware, it is a race that starts at the pier
Santa Monica.
in Santa Monica. So LA, and then you have to get to Vegas, the welcome to Las Vegas sign, as fast as possible. There's no route, there's no rules, there's no spectators. You just get there as fast as possible with the team. And we had 6 people, and we established our route, and we were off. And just like the energy, were you at the pier? Dude, the energy at the pier
was unreal.
Cops were showing up. They were trying to shut it down.
Yeah.
And they kick off the race. Everyone sprints in opposite directions. It was pure chaos.
It was wild. It was.
And you go from being around thousands of people to very quickly, I was running in the dark by myself up this hill.
Right.
I think you took the first leg through the mountains, right?
Yes, I did.
In the trail.
Yeah.
I did not want that, because all I kept thinking about was like mountain lions coming after me.
I kind of like I knew there were going to be dogs and mountain lions or different things. And I'm like, I don't even care. I'm going all out and I'm running as fast as I can. And if I encounter something, it'll make for a good story. But yeah, I knew that was, and especially when we kind of got it more remote, like that shit was kind of scary.
It was, yeah. Was there any like few moments that really stand out from that entire experience that you took away or you'll remember forever?
I loved when we were lost. Like I knew
I loved it, but I also hated it.
Yeah, I remember looking at you.
I was stressed.
Yeah, you were. And I remember like sitting back there like, ooh, this isn't good. But no, I mean, like I knew we were fine. I knew we were safe. I knew we would figure it out. And it was just kind of fun. Like it was like problem solving. Like that's what we were doing. We were lost and we had to figure it out. I learned something very, very valuable. Probably more valuable than anything I've ever learned in running. And that's that when you bonk, you can come back from it. Like if you can eat and drink, you can come back. I learned, and what it proved to me, there were times at the Speed Project, one time in particular, it was right when we kind of hit that dead end and had to go to Powerline early. And I was like, I can't take another step. I cannot run anymore. I ate a cup of noodles and like a BLT or something, and 45 minutes later, and it was like I was brand new, and it blew my mind because I thought there was no way I could finish. I thought I'm going to be the first guy to quit, and then I came back from it, and so I learned, even in the marathon, even in whatever, the importance of fueling. It is literally the most important thing in running. And if you fuel properly, you can run forever.
Yeah.
I learned that in the Speed Project, and I learned that in the Go One More Ultra. When I quit at the Go One More Ultra, I feel like it was more of a mental thing. Obviously, my legs were trashed, but they got trashed very early on. And then it was just like, it just sucks. Like my legs just hurt, but I can still go. It's the fuel that makes it or breaks it. It is, and so I learned that in the Speed Project, and it kind of, it taught me that like I can run anything if I can train and fuel. Like any race, any distance, any speed, within reason. We can all do it with training and fueling.
Yeah, it's part of the problem solving strategy of all these races and efforts. And that's why I harp on it and preach it so much.
It is, yeah.
Is I believe that is one variable we can control.
It is.
And when we're faced with problems or adversity, when it comes to efforts and races like this, what is that one variable you can control? There's a few variables. It's fueling and it's your mind.
Yeah.
And I love the concept of a last man standing race like we hosted on the ranch, because you literally have to make the decision to stop and quit.
Yeah.
Like what was the first moment of that race where you had little inklings of, I think I'm going to stop? How far into it?
I think the first time I thought I might quit was like around mile 70 overnight. I had nothing left. But everyone told me, and this is really sad, they told me, don't quit in the chair. I ended up quitting in the chair, but not at mile 70. I was like, I'm just going to go back out. I was a big Campbell's chicken and rice soup, because I learned at the Speed Project that cup of noodles with like 900 milligrams of sodium can snap me back. So I didn't have something to heat water to make the noodles soft, so I just did Campbell's chicken and rice soup. And I'm not kidding, like it was disgusting because it was like lukewarm just sitting in the tent, but it brought me back. Like it would bring me back. And so at mile 70, I just chugged a chicken and rice. I chugged 1,000 milligrams of electrolytes, and I was like, I'm gonna go back out there. I don't think I'll make it back in time. And like after the first mile, I was like, I'm back. And that happened at 70, at like 90, and then I had a burst at around 100, which I don't know what happened there.
Is that when you were cooking like 6-minute miles?
Yeah. So my last 4 miles leading up to 100, I was like, I want to be the first one back, because I would love to have like a 23-hour, 35-minute 100-miler, right? Because otherwise it would be 24 hours if I were to come in a little longer. I was like, yeah, I want to go for that. And I had a plan of like probably going to quit around 100 or a little after. And then, I cannot believe how many people stuck in it as long as they did.
I know.
We were at mile 80 and I'm looking around, I'm like, how are there so many people here?
That's the power of having people push you.
Yeah, it is.
Like imagine if you went out and by yourself to that ranch, to the loop, 4.2 miles by yourself, and said, I'm going to go as far as I possibly can every hour on the hour.
I'd call it 20 miles. That's probably what I'd do.
So you have people coming back with you every time, and you're looking to your left and right, and you see them stand up out of their chair, walk over to the start and finish line to restart another loop, and you're like, I got to join them.
I have a real FOMO problem. It is real, and it gets me in trouble sometimes because I should participate in something that I'm having FOMO with. But yeah, it got me out of the chair a bunch of times.
How far do you think you could have pushed if you really had to? Could you have gone 200 miles?
I think so. We'll find out next year.
Do you have a goal for next year?
Yeah, to win. 1,000% to win. I went into this race mentally prepared to run 150 miles. I had work Monday and Tuesday. It was a holiday, but but anyway, I wasn't, my wife had been out there. There was a lot of things that I'm like, I just am having anxiety about it. I was prepared for 150. I was obviously dead when I dropped. But I do think it was more mental because I had hurt worse earlier in the race. Like overnight, nothing is as bad as hurting overnight because it's freaking dark. I think I can go further, and I'm going to give it a go for sure the next one. I think I'll change a few things about my strategy as well.
What kind of things would you change? In terms of race day execution or prep?
Race day execution. I think I'd probably go a little slower. I think the biggest thing is I'd go slower. In the beginning, it was like a shock to go as slow as we were going just because I hadn't ever prepared for it. And actually my legs hurt in different places than they normally do when I'm running. Like my upper quads rather than like my lower quads by my knees is where it usually hurts. But I think going a little more conservative and then maybe a faster rep to come back for a longer rest would be ideal.
Are you fully recovered now post-race?
Yeah. I think like this last Tuesday, I was like, okay, finally, I feel okay.
Physically, mentally?
Yeah, physically.
Did you have lagging kind of brain fog? Like central nervous system?
Central nervous system. I think yes. I had like a fatigue, like a general fatigue when I would go to run. Like my normal easy runs were much, much, much slower. And I'm like, I'm going as hard as I can as far as like easy pace.
Right.
Yeah.
Could you sleep the few nights after the race?
Not at all.
Dude, after every ultra I do, I cannot sleep for like a week.
Yeah, horrible sleep. I didn't have a real appetite until 24 hours after I finished. So like the next night, I was like, okay, now I'm ready to eat. I just think nervous system. It just like, I had the roots of my teeth, like the bottom of my teeth on both top and bottom, were so sensitive afterwards. Like anything cold, anything warm, anything sweet would just like light up my teeth on the bottom. I'm like, I hope I haven't just like messed myself up forever. It's better now though, as of like a couple days ago.
Some people who have never done an effort like that don't realize what it does to parts of your body that you wouldn't expect to be taxed. Like you would expect your legs to be tired and have some brain fog. But the things you feel and experience post ultra marathon are surprising.
I was a little surprised by this. My legs, if we're just talking general leg soreness, I think I'm worse off after like CIM downhill on those hills. After a marathon running 5:10 pace, my legs are just completely trashed. Like quads feel like they're just done. I think worse off than in this ultra. However, it was so much more that was affected than just my legs. Like my whole body was hurting, my head and that whole nervous system issues, some other nerve issues in my legs. But as far as like muscular soreness, I think the marathon is worse. Ultra's way worse in other ways.
Yeah.
I was worse off after the ultra, but talking legs, marathon.
Do you feel that these big efforts you've done these last 2 years, 50 miler, 100 miler, TSP, they've reshaped the way you view fitness or physical potential in terms of achievement and what is possible?
Oh yeah. I mean, I remember before the 50 miler, I was like, I had it in my head, I could not run 100 miles. There's no way.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, not a single chance that I thought I could run 100 miles. I thought I could run 50, and then after running 50, I'm like, I think I can run 100. Because I learned about fueling. Like that was literally a speed project. After the speed project, I knew I could run, I think I can run like a long, long ways if fueling goes well.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what you do next year.
Yeah.
I really am.
I am so excited for next year. I think the hype around it and the people that are going to be preparing for it, I just think it's going to be so epic.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
I want to take a quick break in this episode to let you guys know my new book titled Go One More is now live and available for order. And you can find the links in the description of this podcast or video to go order Go One More. I am really proud of all of the chapters, the lessons, the values, and the stories I share in this book. And you probably know that Go One More, those 3 simple words have been revolutionary for not only myself and millions of other people, but for my brand, BPN too. And Go One More for me has evolved over these years, where when I first founded it, it was just based off of an action of doing one more of anything to achieve greater success and results. But the mindset shift that evolved for me went from Go One More just being an action to also being an outcome. And we achieve this outcome by making intentional, life-changing choices. This book for me is transformational, and I know and believe that it'll be very valuable for you too. So like I said, you can find the link in the description to go purchase your copy of Go One More. Well, there's this podcast I love, and it's called Founders. It's hosted by David Senner. I talk about it all the time on this podcast. And I was listening to an episode this weekend while I was running, and he was talking about how it's hard to trust people who haven't faced real adversity in their life. Mm-hmm. And I think signing up for races like ultras is one way to put yourself in a position to be faced with adversity. Mm-hmm. But that's chosen adversity that you have to, like we talked about, problem solve and overcome. Mm-hmm. There's also other adversity that you choose and pursue, but it's a different challenge. And where I'm going with this is I think part of your story is much of your story, and it's very powerful. And I want to talk about your journey with addiction, mm-hmm. and then transitioning from addiction to running, and now the amazing personal endeavors and then professional success you're achieving right now, especially not only in fitness, but in real estate here in the Austin area. Mm-hmm. And as a professional Blackstone chef.
Oh, yeah.
In your free time at home.
Yeah, you bet.
I see you throwing down.
Yeah, throwing down.
I'm jealous. Uh-huh. But I want to hear from you the story of how your addiction started. What age were you? What sparked it? And kind of just hang out there for a little bit as we talk about the transition out of.
Yeah. I think around the 5th or 6th grade, I hadn't started using it, but this is where it kind of started. I had kind of been a quiet, shy kid until then. In the 5th grade, I started hanging out with the cool kids, like the athletes. I started playing sports, and because of sports, I started hanging out with like the cool kids.
Where are you from originally?
Dallas.
Dallas, okay.
Yeah. I grew up in Dallas. 5th grade, 6th grade, again, I was getting better at sports, which kind of made me cool. But the 7th grade or 7th or 8th grade is when some of my friends had older brothers that I saw drinking and smoking. I think it was also around the time that I had met friends from other schools. We had a high school, it was Jesuit high school, and all of the little Catholic middle schools would all meet on Fridays and go to the football games. Like we would all meet at the game and hang out in this little area. So I started meeting friends from other schools, kind of like the guys that the same sort of people I was at my school, they were at their school, like athletes, but also kind of the bad kids. I think I saw the attention that the bad kids got, and I wanted that. Like, oh, he's so crazy, he's bad, like, oh, wow, like that sort of thing. And I really wanted that because it was a way to get attention. I didn't necessarily excel in academics to get attention. I wasn't this all-star athlete to get attention, but I could be the bad kid and get plenty of attention. I think maybe 7th or 8th grade is when I tried weed for the first time. I had tried cigarettes more recently, or a little earlier than that, and then I think I started stealing liquor out of my parents' liquor cabinet, and we had this guy, we called him the beer man, and we could call him at like 1 a.m., and this was like 8th grade, and he would just drop us by a bottle of McCormick's liquor, and we'd pay him like $50, which was wild, and then he'd go. And we had this beer man, and we'd steal, and we would just drink after our parents went to bed, and then, they didn't really know. But then I think summer going into high school is when things kind of started to get a little crazier. I started drinking more, smoking weed. I was like a daily weed smoker going into high school. Freshman year of high school, same sort of thing. I was playing sports. I was playing football, running track. But my sophomore year, at least summer after freshman year, is when I started driving. Everything, the wheels just flew off once I could drive because I was then able to access everything. I had never had any interest in trying anything other than weed and alcohol, but I had a really close friend, my best friend today, lives here in Austin still, but he was kind of the guy that showed me everything. He showed me weed the first time. I think we were in the 7th grade. I think it was 7th grade. But anyway, he had grabbed some cocaine from someone. He did a favor for this drug dealer, and he gave him a bag of coke. And my other two friends had tried it, and I was like, guys, like that is so bad. Like I was mad. I was mad at them. And he's very convincing. He's like, yo, it's not that bad. Just give it a try. And so I tried it, and I was like, that's like nothing. Like, what was I even afraid of? Like, let's do more. And so that was like sophomore year, going into sophomore year of high school. I think most weekends were drinking cocaine and some pills, Xanax or whatever. Or we experimented with a lot of MDMA and ecstasy. Xanax and cocaine and alcohol were what I did in high school. That was like my go-to. Friday afternoon after high school, I would maybe get a paycheck, or when my parents would give me some money, I would go straight from school to my drug dealer's house. I'd get a little bag of pills, some cocaine, some weed, and I'd go pick up some beer, and that would be our weekend. And I had a job lifeguarding. I worked at Potbelly Sandwich, and my parents would pay for like my day-to-day, and everything that I made, I just spent on drugs and partying.
Did your parents like have any clue all this was going on?
At that point, they had found weed. The first time, and this is funny because I've heard this before, but my mom, I had a little stash under my closet, under the clothes of my closet. She left me a little note that said, hey, come see me. I was like, oh, shit. But I didn't really have any, you know what it was? It was, oh, my friend gave me this, and they believe me every time. Like, no foul on their part. Like, they want to believe their kid, right? Anyone does. But yeah, I hardly had consequences, and that's a theme throughout. But the first time I got caught with weed, I didn't have consequences. The first time I got caught drinking, I probably had small consequences, but not really. It ended up being like, if you're going to do it, I'd rather you do it here, sort of thing. And in high school, that's kind of what we did. My house was like the party house. My parents would drink with us. They were cool with it. And, they said, as long as you're doing it here, we're okay with it. But like, it would start there and then we'd leave every time. And they didn't really care. They're just like, be careful. Looking back, like we were wild in high school. And
did you go to a big high school?
I started at a Catholic high school, which was big-ish. But here's what was big is that we all went to there was like 9, they were called like the parochial schools. It was these little Catholic middle schools, and they all fed into either Jesuit and Ursuline, which were the guy and girl school, or Bishop Lynch, which was the co-ed Catholic school. So it wasn't necessarily a big school as far as Bishop Lynch. We had like 250, 300 people in each grade. But we also had like Jesuit and Ursuline, which we were all very close with.
Gotcha, okay.
So it was a big community, and it was so like, private schools, it's not like you just know the people in your neighborhood. People are coming from all over Dallas and the whole area to go to these schools. And so by that, you meet people like outside of town and sort of thing, like where they're from, Plano, whatever.
It's a big network. Lots of different people.
Yeah. In high school, I did have a decent sized network of friends, which has been a theme as well. Like I kind of And I want to talk about another thing, but I'll get to that. But I see the people that I like and want to be like, and I insert myself there. It happened as a kid when I was shy and I saw the cool kids and I'm like, I want to be like them. I put myself right next to them. Then the athletes, then the drug addicts, then the bad kids. And then it got into like sobriety, then the athletes, the fastest runners in Austin. I'm like, I'm going to go sit right next to them and do what they do. And then in my career, same sort of thing. So I've done that since the beginning, whether it was negative or positive. But yeah, I don't really know where I was going with that.
You were in high school, you're at home drinking with your parents, leaving in the evenings after they kind of went down.
There's one thing about all of that I just want to say, and that is that I had a great time. I had so much fun in high school. I like to joke that I peaked in high school because I was a cool kid. I was bad. I got a lot of attention, but it was like cool attention. I seemingly had a ton of friends. In hindsight, it was more so like they wanted to use the drugs. They wanted to be at the parties. They wanted to. I got to drive really young at a lower grade because I was like held back in pre-K. So I turned 16 before my sophomore year.
Okay.
So I seemingly had a whole lot of friends and community but really looking back, it was like they wanted to take part in what I was taking part in, which I think is a pretty common thing. But I had a great time, and that's important because I had a great time even into my first year of college, and then I didn't. And then it got really bad.
You had a good time? You were happy? You were fulfilled?
I was happy. Fulfilled is, I feel like for a young kid, yeah, I was fulfilled. I was getting everything I wanted. I thought this is what life is going to be like.
Yeah, for everything that you knew life could offer.
Correct, yeah. Exactly. And it's so funny because my priorities and the things I thought life were going to be like so many different times, it was just like so crazy. Like there was a point in time that I thought I would just use drugs forever. And it was more of like when I was like in the bad parts of it, but I was like, this is just how it's going to be, and that's fine. But yeah, high school was great. I went to college. I did not run in college. However, I was pretty decent at track in high school. But when I went to college, I went to University of Arkansas, I was like, I'm going to put the drugs down. I'm not going to use Coke. I'm not going to use pills. I'll still smoke weed, and I'm going to drink beer. I'm not going to drink liquor anymore because I get shit-faced and I do crazy things. I got to college, my first semester, I did that. I just drank beer. I went to frat parties. I hardly went to class. I made all C's, and I was having a great time. My freshman year of college, about halfway point, I was introduced to opiates. And I had tried like hydrocodone before, but it really didn't do it for me because I like to party. Now that I'm in this, like, I'm trying to do better. I'm going to put the drugs down. Like, I'm trying to stay in a little more, like focus on school. Cause I did want to do well in school. Like I had high, ambitions in school. Like I really wanted to do well.
What were you studying?
I was studying biology.
What did you want to pursue post-college?
I wanted to be a doctor. Yeah. At that point, even my dad was a doctor, and obviously him and his friends, I looked up to them from like the very, very beginning. I did well for like a semester, and then I found opiates. And my thought was like, I had a roommate who had done opiates all of high school, like same sort of thing like me, but like he was an opiate guy, which are like, opiates are hydrocodone, oxycodone, morphine, fentanyl, and heroin. Like the ones that they're not like party drugs. They're like sit there and just feel it drugs. But anyway, he showed me opiates, and I'm like, this is perfect. Like now I can stay home and study and not feel like I'm missing out going out. So I started using opiates, and I started using them pretty heavily in the beginning. And it was like first time I did it, I think I tried like 3 or 4 hydrocodone. I was like, this is great. My roommate was like, hey, you got to try Oxycontin. Like if you like hydrocodone, Oxycontin is like 10 times better. I was like, great. Like, and I thought in my head, it's harmless because it's pharmaceuticals. Like I'd been using pharmaceuticals for the last like 5 years, and you know, it's how bad could it be? The first time I had opiate withdrawals, I remember it so clearly. I was with some more friends from Arkansas, and I thought I had the flu. Like I was like, man, guys, like I came down with the flu. And it just so happened we were not unable to get any pills around town. And one of my friends was like, yeah, let's drive up to Missouri. I got a guy up there. So we drove an hour up to Missouri in this drug dealer's house. And at this point I was freebasing them off tinfoil. So you cut the pill in half, you put it on the tinfoil, you light it underneath, and you follow it with a straw. And it's like instantaneous, like one hit, instantaneous. And so I was at this drug dealer's house.
You snort it with a straw?
No, you inhale, you burn it underneath, and it like smokes right off the pill on top of the foil, and you inhale the smoke with a straw.
And at this point, you're using every day.
I'm using daily. I am using daily, but still not knowing that I'm addicted or having withdrawals or anything like that. Like it'd probably been 2 or 3 weeks, and that's it. But yeah, when we first introduced Oxycontin, he's like, yeah, we can snort it or smoke it. Like you don't want to swallow it, doesn't work as well. I took a hit at this guy's house, and I immediately felt better. And I was like, that is so weird. Like I thought I had the flu, and they were like, no, you just had withdrawals. And I'm like, what? That was awful. And then I was like, oh, that's not good. Cause like at that point, like I'm gonna have to go through that again if I want to stop.
You recognize that right away?
I did recognize it. When I took that hit, I was like, and I felt better. I was like, that's so weird. Yeah. They told me, and then I recognized like, oh shoot, like, am I stuck?
Yeah.
Because it was awful. You know, I was still functioning because I'd only been using 3 weeks or so. Fast forward, that was like a daily thing. Like it went so fast. My opiate addiction, I think like that. I was a daily user, and I was a daily all day user. And then my whole life revolved. I mean, I'd show up to class sometimes. I'd do my homework as much as I could. I'd show up to take the test. I made C's across the board. I'd never worked harder than I did to try and find drugs or resources or whatever. What am I going to hustle to make money, and what textbooks am I going to sell? Whatever. I never worked that hard in my life, which is important moving later. But I remember another time, probably a few months down the road from that, and I was sitting in my room with my roommate, same guy I'd been using opiates with. We just used together, him and I. And I told him, I looked over and I was like, bro, I think I need to go to rehab. And not having any clue what rehab it was, what it meant, what you did there. But I just remember sitting in my little desk chair, like knowing about the withdrawals at this point. And even at this point, like I couldn't go through the night without getting sick. So in the morning, whenever I wake up, I'm dry heaving. I'm probably vomiting. My stomach is in knots. I've got the body aches, and I'm cold sweating until I can take that first hit, and then I'm good. But every morning was like that. It was like, fuck. I open my eyes. I'm like, oh my God, I'm fucking so sick.
How many times throughout the day would you have to use to keep up with that?
A lot, yeah. So I'd say probably like every 2 hours minimum.
Oh, wow.
Another thing that I learned after experimenting in every different ways of using smoking or freebasing is the most immediate, and it is the most intense withdrawals. Even when I moved into like the IV use, smoking it was as bad, and that was the sickest and most withdrawals I've ever had was like that first year of college. And after that, my best friend that I mentioned earlier that I tried everything with, he called my mom and was like, hey, he's using real drugs. You need to figure out what's going on. She drove up there, picked me up, and I went to rehab the first time. When I went to rehab, I didn't want to stop. Obviously, I wanted to stop opiates because I was in this cycle, and I knew I couldn't get out of it without like intervention. And so I went to rehab. I was like, okay, I'll just get off the opiates. I'll go back to school, and I'll be good. I'll just go back to my thing, like Xanax pills and drinking. I got out of rehab, and the first day I drank a beer, which they told me I couldn't. They said that you can't do that if you want to stay sober. I'm like, okay, I'm 19 years old. Get out of here. I drank a beer when I got home with my dad, and I was like, yeah, I'm done with the drugs. I'm just going to drink. I think I relapsed 2 days later on drugs, with every part of me saying I'm not going to do it again. And then, so here we go into the cycle over the next like 7 years.
7 years?
7 years of that, yeah.
How many times over those 7 years did you go back to rehab?
6 times. It averaged out about once a year, but it wasn't once a year. Sometimes it was, I'd go, and then 2 months later I'd go again, or a year later I'd go again. Yeah, it was a very hectic cycle.
What was the longest period of time post rehab that you stayed sober before relapsing?
I think the time, I think probably like 6 months maybe. I'd go to a 30-day treatment center, and then I'd go to a 90-day sober living program, and then I'd get out and live with a sober person, and then him and I would relapse pretty shortly afterwards, every time. The longest, I think, was the most recent time. I was sober just about a year, and I was working at a restaurant in Austin, and I had planned it all out. I was like, we're having a boat party, a employee boat party, and I'm gonna drink. I planned it out a week in advance. I was like, I don't care anymore. I'm going to go drink a beer on this boat. I picked up a 12-pack. By the end of the evening, like we got back around like 4, by like 7 or 8 p.m. when it got dark, I was at my old drug dealer's house that I had known for years here in Austin. And I picked up cocaine first because I hated getting the spins, like when I drink too much, because I'm an alcoholic just as much as I'm a drug addict. I drink until I'm gone. But I'd use cocaine to bring me back, and then I could keep drinking. So I'd go get cocaine and I would do that whole thing, and then like 5 a.m. I'm at his house again picking up Xanax because I'm coming down so hard and I need something to, and then I'm just off to the races again. That lasted about 2 weeks, and it was as bad. It had never gotten that bad that quickly from like a drink. And today people say like, will you ever drink again? And I'm like, honestly, that's the one thing I cannot do, because all of my decision-making skills, my morals, everything that I like stand by go out the window, and I'm just like, sure, why not? I don't care. Drinking is the one thing I know I can never, I mean, I can't do any of it, but like drinking is the one that leads to everything else.
Is that because one drink leads to multiple drinks leads to problem solving, where you're literally, all right, I'm coming down, I need to get back up.
Exactly,
1,000%. Come down, get back up,
yes.
Come down. So over those, first off, appreciate you sharing all that.
Yeah.
In the course of those 7 years, what ended up happening to your college pursuit?
Oh man, I was in and out of college for 7 years. My poor parents, I mean, they paid for my college, and it was like, I'd go back to school, I'd get through a semester, or maybe like 3/4 of the way through a semester, and they'd have to pull me out to go back to rehab. I was so horrible. Not horrible to them, because I truly believe I was sick. Like, I want to reference ultra or I want to like tie them together, ultras and using and sobriety. But I don't think I'm there yet. But yeah, my poor parents, in and out of rehab 7 years, on and off drugs, jail. I've been charged with 6 felonies, all possession charges. I think 3 of them I got into car accidents, like bad car accidents, falling asleep, and then just finding drugs and paraphernalia all over the car. Because like when I hit something, they would just like explode everywhere. That happened 3 times. And I mean, countless relationships lost, a ton of people that I hurt, people that I was so close with, best friends and family that my mom, and this is like one of the most vivid memories, was I was at their house. I'd stay at their house, and then I'd go off and be gone for a week, bouncing around couches, and then I'd come back to try and like, show that I'm okay. But one time she had found my drugs, and she was like sleeping on the couch next to the front door in like our little living room, because she didn't want me to leave, and I was like sick. And I remember going over to her. I knew where she had my stuff, and I guess she had stopped me, taken something from me, or had it, my drugs, and I just grabbed them out of her hand and turned around and walked away and went out the front door. That's probably the worst. And I mean, obviously not the worst thing I did, but that hurt me the most, because my mom stood by me through every single second of it. Whether it hurt me or helped me, it was her intention. But like any moment it got too bad for me, like I'm so sick or I'm so broke or whatever, I could call her and say, hey, I need help. She'd be right there. Do you need rehab? Do you need to come home? What do you need? Do you need money? So she was my biggest supporter, probably a big detriment looking back, but like no blame on her, because she's just doing what a mom would do.
Right.
I mean, I was the manipulative one. Like everyone believed me for the most part. But so 7 years of in and out, college tuitions. I went to 3 different colleges. It was wild. It was awful. There were parts of it that I enjoyed. And the biggest thing of it, and this is kind of what I mentioned before, was I thought this is how it was going to be forever. I truly thought I would never figure it out. And I was okay with it. I was like, I'm going to be in and out of treatments or jail or hospitals. I had countless overdoses. And that was just how it was going to be. And I was okay with it. Like, I kind of get it. Like some of the guys that live on the streets, and they seem okay, because I never was living on the streets, but I had plenty of overnights on the streets, like literally just like on foot. And I would post up in some alley, and I'd sit down behind a trash can, and I had my drugs there, and I was I didn't need anything else. Like I literally did not care that I was laying on the side of an alley in the middle of the night. Like it was heaven. No one would bother me, that sort of thing. So I kind of get it. It didn't matter my situation. If I had my drugs, I was good.
Yeah. How close did you get to dying during that time?
That's a good question. I think any one of the times that I OD'd and maybe went to the hospital or maybe didn't because there was nobody there. But there were a number of times that I would shoot up and end up, like it would be 10 p.m. and I would wake up in the morning in the position that I had like either hunched over fallen over onto my knees, like sitting down and like that, or just fallen directly to the side, and I'd wake up and I'd be like, I'm like fully dressed. I had fully plans of like going out tonight. I just like completely probably OD'd because I was like unconscious. Whether I was close to dying or not, I have no idea. But I imagine that, yeah, I probably was, because most people do die from this drug.
How did it get to heroin? What did that step look like?
I remember that day so vividly as well. I was an Oxycontin user. It was like the fancy heroin. I had a friend, Kirk. I won't say his last name because he's still very much around, but he's doing really well. He was like, yo, and he had told me this before. He's like, yo, I have a guy, he sells black tar heroin. He's like, I know you can't, they're not, the drug dealers are all out of Oxycontin. I got a guy, he sells black tar heroin. I was like, bro, no, never doing that. That's trashy.
What is black tar heroin?
It's, there's like two types of heroin. Black tar is like the Mexican stuff that's manufactured in Mexico and brought up. It's like a goo. It's like a black goo. Other heroin is like white powder. This is like easier to manufacture, and it does come from Mexico. And so it's very plentiful in Texas. Most border states have it. The East Coast, I think, is more of like the other kind. But anyway, yeah, he was like, finally one night we were at a friend's house at a party, and I was like, I can't get any oxy. He's like, I can't get any oxy. He's like, I got that guy. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And I was sick. And he was like, let's do it. I was like, let's go get it. So we drove over there. We got heroin the first time. I snorted it and I did it. And I was like, it's nothing. I thought it was going to be insane. Like Oxycontin's stronger than that, probably. Obviously snorting it, and then I guess a couple weeks later, it was cheap. It was very, very cheap. But a couple weeks later, I started injecting it, and that was like game over. This is the absolute best, most efficient, best way to get all the bang for your buck, was to inject it. And I think that was probably like 2010, and then I got sober in late 2015, so 5 years of IV use, IV heroin use, and then IV cocaine use, IV meth use as well throughout that time.
Why does heroin get such a, I don't want to say bad reputation, but why is it so popular of being this drug that is truly this downward spiral afterwards?
I think it's so addicting. I saw this, I don't know, not a statistic, but like it's like how much dopamine is released, and it said the amount of like when you see a sunset, or when you eat a great meal, or when you have sex, and then heroin is like 50 times that dopamine release, and then crystal meth is like 100 times that. It's so addictive. It's a euphoria. Like you do it and immediately you just feel it coming on because it's like in your veins and you can feel it, you taste it in your throat, and then it happens and it's euphoric immediately, and it's like a numbness. That's what the whole thing was. It was numbing. I was not okay with who I was. I was fearful of literally everybody. I couldn't look people in the eye. I hated who I was, but I loved who I was when I was drunk or high. At least I thought I did. It got rid of my, it gave me confidence. It got rid of my bad self-esteem, my low self-esteem. Anything negative, I overcame it when I drank and used. I was like, this is what I'm the expert at. Yeah.
So in 2015, what changed? What started the process of sobriety?
That's interesting. Nothing changed. I went into treatment for the 6th time. I didn't want to be there. I had snuck drugs in. I got caught with the drugs. I actually was like laying in my little detox cot with like 5 other people in the room. I had set a book up on my chest so that no one could see me. Lights are on. Everyone's in there kind of reading or getting ready for bed. And I shot up in my wrist like without anyone like with the book blocking, and I passed out, and the nurse came in and found me with all of my stuff just like laying on my chest in bed, like the spoon, the needle, everything, my little tourniquet was just all right there. And they were like, what is going on? And they like woke me up. They brought me into the other room. They, not scolding me, but they're like, this is, like, you got people around you. Like, this is dangerous. Like, this is awful. You're in rehab, blah, 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 blah. And they tried to kick me out. There was one case manager that was like, just let him stay. So they let me stay.
Why'd you go to rehab if you didn't want to be there?
I didn't not want to be there. I just didn't want to stop yet. I wanted to exhaust all of my cash and drugs, and then I was willing to work.
Okay.
But I had picked stuff up on my way home on the way for the drive, and when I got there, and then I had some left, and I was like, I'm not going to throw it away. I'm going to use it the first night or two, and then kind of ease into it, and then I'll do it.
Do a lot of people? Sorry, just a question. Do a lot of people show up to rehab high?
For sure, almost everybody. They almost encourage it because if you're like on alcohol or benzos, you can literally die from the detox. You can't die from a heroin detox. It's really miserable. But like they kind of encourage it, like just do as you would do and show up, and then we'll get you on detox meds. But yeah, there was nothing different other than like every time I'd been to rehab, I'd kind of half-assed everything. Like I'll go and dry out, I'll feel better, put some weight on, get a job, and then I'll go back to it. This time, same mentality, but I was like, you know what? They told me that this stuff would work if I did it to my best ability, referring to the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I was like, that's bullshit, but I'll try it. So I tried it as hard as I could, so that I could say, hey guys, I tried it as hard as I could. It doesn't work, but it worked. And that's the only difference, is that I actually applied myself into the 12 steps, and I can't explain it. It worked. It truly works.
Was it your first time doing the 12-step program, or was it every time? It
was my first time doing it truly, honestly, like with no hesitation, like no reservation. That is the first time I did it as best as I could. I was truly honest. I was honest about everything. I was honest about, that was a big one, is honesty. I was never honest because I was so awful. I didn't want anyone to know how bad I was. I had done it before, and I had gone to the meetings, but I never like sat down with another man, a sponsor, and worked through all 12 steps and then worked with other new alcoholics. I'd never done that. And it did truly save everything. They told me, this was so true. The 12 steps is not for people who do it. It's not for people it's not for people who need it. It's not for people who want it. It's just for people who do it. And honestly, it is a roadmap for life. The obsession to drink and use drugs left me very quickly, as I started this journey. And then like the gifts of like how to handle life, how to handle stress, how to handle my job, how to handle relationships, how to show up and be who I want to be. And that's really what the focus is. Again, the obsession to drink and use left, and then it was like just a roadmap for life. Like how, and anyone could benefit from it. Like it truly would be so great for just anyone to do, because it is the same stresses that I dealt with, that I numbed, are the same stresses that literally everyone has. I just coped with it poorly. But yeah, anyway.
I've heard people who have had success with sobriety and have incorporated the 12 steps. They are massive believers,
for sure,
in the 12-step program.
Absolutely.
People speak volumes.
Yeah. It saved my life completely, without a doubt. The one thing that could save my life, at least at first, because I can go into a number of things that have now saved my life moving forward. In all honesty and full disclosure, I don't work the 12 steps anymore. I don't go to meetings. I haven't in about 4 years. But I truly believe that I have found a replacement, and that is fitness and community. I also think sobriety is so dependent on community. I think just being happy is dependent on community, because being alone is, I don't know if that's me or how other people feel, but I don't like being alone. I don't like doing difficult things alone. I don't like doing anything alone, really. I mean, obviously I like time alone, but like for the most part,
right.
Community is so huge in my sobriety. And I think anyone who can find community, no matter what it is, if it's fitness, great. If it's something else, find something you love and find the people who love it as well.
Yeah, I mean, looking at your life now, I can see that, how important that is. And it's a principal value to your continued success.
I think it is the number one.
Yeah, I can see that just from everything you do. So transitioning out of rehab that last time, back to regular life, what did that look like in terms of things you started incorporating? Where did you start working?
Yeah.
Like, how did your life get from there to here?
Yeah, that's a good one, because I would say the biggest transformation was like non-sobriety to sobriety, but I kind of don't feel like that's it. Like I kept moving. About a year after, maybe a year and a half after getting sober, I was working at a restaurant, which they were so supportive. It was the same restaurant that I relapsed at. When I called them after the relapse, I was like, guys, like, they obviously knew I was drinking, but they were like, I've relapsed big time. I need to go to rehab. They're like, go, we got all your shifts covered. You got a job when you get back. Go take care of yourself.
That's awesome.
It was so huge. And they were also important moving forward after rehab, like incredibly supportive. Katie and Chris, they manage Bangers now, but they were so pivotal in early sobriety. They have no idea. They don't even know. I've told them, but they have no clue how like important they were to me in the beginning. And there were a lot of people that don't realize how important they were to me throughout my journey and how like pivotal they were in my journey and my sobriety. But I love that job. I had great friends. Most of my friends were either in the restaurant or from the 12-step meetings that I went to. I think I was walking my dog through Auditorium Shores one time, smoking cigs, because I got sober. I ate awful. I ate cheeseburgers. I drank sodas all day, every day. And I smoked a pack of cigarettes a day, if not more.
Did you gain a lot of weight?
I gained weight, yeah. Oh, yeah. I was a chunk.
How heavy did you get? Do you know?
It wasn't this time. It was probably a year prior, but I had gotten up to like 185.
And what do you sit at right now?
Like 145.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So 40 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah, I was lifting weights. Like I was strong and I was healthy, but I was chunky for sure.
I couldn't imagine you at 185.
Oh yeah, I was a chunk. But anyway, the restaurant was incredible. I was walking the dog through Auditorium Shores and I saw this like HIIT training group. Later I found out it was called Organic Fitness and Training. Jacob was the guy's, and Jacob Wood. I walked up to them as they were doing their group while I'm smoking a cig. I was like, guys, what are y'all doing? And they're like, we're doing a fitness class. You should come out. And he like gave me his card with the schedule on it. I was like, okay. And so I went back home, whatever. Let me back up a little. I was sitting with one of my best friends, the guy Trevor that I've talked about previously. I tried everything with, and I was like, yo, like I want to date a fit girl. Like I think that's who I like now. And him and another guy were like, why would a fit girl ever date you? Like, take a look in the mirror, bud. Like, you're not that kind of guy. And I was like, you're right. So move forward a couple weeks. I found this like HIIT training camp, and I asked them what they were, and I showed up the next day. I was a pack-a-day smoker. I also chewed tobacco. I never picked up another cigarette for at least like 7 years after that. Like I went to that HIIT training class. I did the workout, and I never picked up another cigarette because it hurt my lungs so badly. But I think I went pretty much every day after that. And I went for about 6 months or something. And then I started running, because we did a little bit of running, but I'd leave from my house and I'd run down to the trail half a mile and come back. And that was it.
What year is this?
This is probably like late 2018.
Okay.
Because I think maybe it's late 2017 or late 2018, but it was, I think it must have been late 2018. But anyway, I wanted to be a runner now. And I wanted to run a 5-minute mile. And because I had done that as a kid, in 8th grade, I ran a 5-minute mile. And then I did it through high school, but that was about as good as I got. I thought it was insane of an idea, but I was like, I think I can do it, because I had done it before. All throughout my using, I had always had this like thought in the back of my head that like, if I can ever get sober, I want to be a runner, because I enjoyed it as a kid. My parents were both marathon runners. I loved it as like a 7th and 8th grader, even freshman in high school. And then I had other interests like drinking and drugs, but I loved it. I was going to be a runner. That was like 5th and 6th grade. I was like, that's what I'm going to be. So I thought the whole time using that I would possibly end up coming back to that. I never thought it would turn out like this, but I thought maybe I had some talent. But I did. I joined the Gilbert's Gazelles, and he trained me for like 6 weeks, and I ran a 4:48 mile, and it blew my mind. I was like, how?
In 6 weeks of training?
Maybe a little longer than that. I mean, but like I'd been doing 6 months of HIIT training, like with some running. I started running.
It's extremely impressive.
Yeah, it was impressive. And then after that, I think I ran a Cap 10K was my first road race, and I ran it in like 36 minutes, and then I did a half marathon in like 1:16, which in hindsight, like those were great times for someone who never ran. They're great times for right now. Like they're great times for people right now. But it didn't hit me yet that I was going to be good. And then I guess I trained for grandmas. I did a marathon in December with Gilbert's Gazelles. It was December of 2019, and I think it was December of 2018. And then 2019, after CIM in December 2019, I started working with Jeff, or late 2018, I started working with Jeff.
You just knew Jeff from the inner circles of Austin?
No, he wasn't even in the inner circle yet. So a girl, Rachel Baptista, he coached her in high school, and she had gone to college and come back. And we were training with, I guess it was Rogue or Gilbert's. But she was like, I think I'm going to have my high school coach train me. And I was like, cool, yeah. Like, I'll help you. Like, I just ran a marathon CIM. You're training for Houston. I'll pace you and stuff. I paced her, and then as with Jeff coaching, and got to know Jeff. And at that point, I was like, Jeff, I want you to coach me. So he coached me to grandmas in early June of 2019, and I ran 107. And that was like my breakthrough. That was when I thought, like, trials or like 220 marathon, or like I had a thought in the back of my head. I didn't really tell anyone, but I was like, is it possible? Just because I had gotten better and better. And when I ran that, it was 5:10 pace. I remember finishing, and the next day I was like, I think I can run a marathon at that pace. Obviously, like, it took me years, but 5 years later, I ran a marathon at that pace. Yeah, I don't know. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the challenge. It was very, very hard. And it was, the biggest thing was that I could see tangible accomplishments, like the numbers on my watch. Seeing things getting better and better was like something I could wrap my head around. Like, I can work towards something and then see it. And then I work even harder and then see the progress. Kind of throughout this whole last 10 years has been like that. Like, it is such a rewarding, you're talking about the dopamine, running as hard as you can and then seeing that number on your watch when you finally finish that mile loop, and it like is something good, and you're like, oh shit, like that was awesome. That's almost uncomparable.
How do you feel about when, because I can't speak into this because I've never come from addiction before, but when people say that so many prior addicts find endurance sports and they funnel that addiction into a new passion, do you believe there's validity there?
Absolutely. Well, Max told me, he was like, he was like, what kept me high is what makes me good at ultras. And I didn't really get that until I did Last Man Standing. There were, I want to talk about, let me just say it, but there were times out there where I was like, I can't even take another step, like out in the dark, and like I can't take another step, but like all I want to do is just take another step. Like, it was literally the same thing of like, I'm not going to use any more, but all I want to do is use more. Like, it was the exact same thing. And I've never had that in a running thing. I've never experienced that before until this ultra. And it was like, I'm addicted. I have to go back out there and keep going because I just can't. Like, I can't not do it. I want to do it, like everything, but it's so hard, but I just want to do it. It was a crazy thing.
Did you recognize that in the middle of it or in retrospect?
No, I recognized it in it. I was like, this is what Max was telling me. I was like, he was so spot on. The same thing that was like, I've got to get these drugs. I've just got to do it. And I can't stop was the same feeling. I was like, I got to just keep going. I got to just keep going. Obviously in a more positive way. Like, I was enjoying it, but I was enjoying the drugs. Like, I was like, I just got to get it. It really is so similar. That the Last Man Standing was the hardest thing I've done in my whole life outside of getting sober. And I've gone back and forth with this as far as what was harder. But at the end of the day, so many times in my addiction, I said, I am stopping right now. I don't care. No matter what, I'm stopping. And then 5 minutes later, I'm shooting up again. And that happened over and over and over. I would throw my shit down the toilet and say, I'm done. And then I'd be in the car 5 minutes later driving to my drug dealer's house. No matter who was telling me, no matter how much I cared about someone, no matter how much I respected or whatever, or loved myself or whatever, I could not stop. There was nothing that would stop me. No matter how much self-will I could muster to just like put it down, I couldn't do it. The race was close, but even when I said I can't take another step, I could always take another step. So that's for that, the getting sober was harder.
Do you still struggle with temptations to use again, or are you far removed from that?
I just love so much what I have right now. Like fitness has become so important.
Yeah.
And that's when I say like I don't work the 12 steps anymore, but I do feel like I have found a sufficient replacement, which is fitness and community. I feel like I have so much accountability in the community and with friends and people that I run with and my wife that like consequences and other things never kept me sober before. I can't explain it. I have so much just like love and passion for what I'm doing right now that a drink or a drug would just throw it all out the window and I could never do that.
It's not worth it.
No, it's not. But it's so weird because there were other things that I had that were not worth it, but I did it anyway. I go back and forth on whether I'm on the right path or not the right path as far as sobriety. But the good news is that if I start to feel like I'm not on the right path, like maybe leading towards a drink or a drug, then I can always go back into the 12 steps. Mm-hmm. But I really do believe that I have found like a sufficient replacement. It is an addiction for sure, running 1000%. I have done a cross addiction into fitness. But until it becomes like harmful, then I don't see the problem. Like what's wrong with being addicted to fitness if it's not hurting you? Like obviously if I was addicted and I'm breaking my leg every 3 months, then maybe I got to back off a little bit and figure out another solution. But at this point, it seems to be healthy.
How's your relationship with your parents?
It's great.
Going through all of this.
Yeah. Going through it, like we had ups and downs. My dad and I had ups and downs. I never doubted his love. Neither of them. Obviously, I disappointed them extremely, and they had every right to show that. But man, they supported me through all of it. Like when it really came down to it, if I needed help, they were there.
Yeah.
If I needed to get out of jail, they were there. It didn't come without, like if the deal was if they bail me out of jail, I got to go to rehab, which is fair. And honestly, looking back, it's like that is a golden opportunity that most don't get. Like I do think I would have ended up sober without rehabs and stuff. But I had a luxurious way of getting sober. Like go to jail, parents bail you out, send you to rehab. Like that is like without a doubt the most cushy way to get sober there is. People have it way, way worse. I'd gotten sober in worse conditions and I've gotten sober in greater conditions. I don't think it matters. When it's time, it's time. But yeah, they are my biggest supporters, obviously are so proud of me at this point. My dad died, I think like 3 years ago, maybe it's been 4 almost. But I was actually traveling at that point and he had gotten sick and some of my plans fell through. And so I came back to Dallas and I stayed with them for like a month and a half. And I'm so glad that happened because my dad died like a week after I left. But I was there to take care of him. I gave him showers, like I helped him. We had a nurse that was a 24-hour nurse, but I am so grateful for that opportunity. And there was one time especially that he had a doctor's appointment and he was very out of it, like leading up to that whole time. But we had a day and it was my aunt who was his sister and we took him to the doctor and he was his old self again. It was so wild. Like he was kind of grumpy and like, but he'd make jokes and he'd like make fun of people and like he was doing that. And I was like, this is unbelievable. That I got to like share that with him. And I left back to Austin, I think like a week after that situation. And then he died like a week or two later. I can't tell you how grateful I am that like 1, I got to spend that time with him. 2, when he died, I am 1000% confident that he knows that I'm there for my mom and my family and I'm good. Like yeah. I'm not going back the way I used to be. And he did get to see a bunch of big accomplishments, which is great. I mean, I obviously wish he could see me now. And my number one wish is that he could meet Jordy, my wife, because he would be so proud of Jordy because she's like everything. And people were intimidated by him because he's a surgeon. Jordy works with surgeons every day. She'd put him in his place so quick, and it would have been incredible. But yeah, my relationship with my family couldn't be better all around. I have done what I consider a living amends to my mom. And that is that no matter what, when she calls, I answer, no matter how busy I am. If she checks in with me, she texts me at the most random times, like 10 p.m. Are you okay? Because she gets like a mom feeling. And I'm like, yeah, I'm great. You know, we're doing this. I never get annoyed with that. I always give a long explanation of how great I am, because I know there were times when she would text me, she'd get that feeling and she'd be like, he's dead. I know he's dead.
Right.
She got calls from ambulances, from police officers. Every time she answer it, this is the Dallas Police Department. I'm dead. My son's dead. So now when she calls, when she wants to come visit, I say, yeah, come on, bring your dog. I don't care. We have 3, but whatever, bring yours. That is my living amends to her, is that I will never, ever, ever deny her the opportunity to hang out with me, to talk to me, to worry about me or anything like that. And it is really annoying, but I never show it, and I do it with a smile on my face because she was my number one supporter and fan, and probably the reason I ended up getting sober, because of how willing she was to help me.
That's got to be incredible for your dad to have seen your transformation, but your mom to have seen it and then, watch the continued success right now.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. I mean, I have 2 young kids, and just thinking of them going through something like that, and you as a parent feeling helpless that you can't make the decision or choice for them, and seeing just the consequences and the downward trend. And I'm sure at some point, both your parents were thinking, this is just going to end up in, like you said,
Correct.
His death.
Yeah, they did.
Like, what you're doing now was never an option or a possibility. And for both your parents to have seen and see that right now has to bring just like so much contentment and joy and happiness. So like, I know you did it for yourself to get better, but just like recognizing like you gave your parents their life back as well.
Absolutely.
It's a powerful choice.
Just what you said, I gave them their life back, because I mean, they practically went broke sending me to rehab. They practically obviously lost sleep and stress, and potentially could have cost my dad's career. Like all of these things that they gave up for about a decade to try and get their only son better. Yes, the answer, it's today, I can't tell you how much relief and peace and joy and just like contentment, like you said, is that knowing that they know that I'm okay, that my dad died, knowing that I was here for my mom, here for my family, whatever comes my way, I'm going to be good, because I'd handled a lot throughout sobriety. The one thing that I thought might take me out, like that I always worried in early sobriety, was like the death of a parent. Like, how am I going to stay sober through the death of a parent? My dad, I watched, like he went into cardiac arrest. They brought him to the hospital. They obviously got his heart going again, but at that point his brain had been gone too long. And so he was on a ventilator or like the breathing machine and everything. And I walked in and I just saw it and I was like, God damn, this is fucking awful. Take him off of that. Like, that is the worst thing I've ever seen. But to be able to do that and be there for my mom and just like, yes, I can't even tell you how incredible it feels. Probably the biggest gift in sobriety is my dad going, knowing that I'm okay, and my mom today knowing that I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm like hearing that story. I'm happy for you, obviously, but I'm just as equally happy for your parents.
It affects the whole family. Addiction affects the whole family. I've seen it on both sides because my dad was also an addict and an alcoholic. It just destroys families because everyone's worried. My aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone was worried. But yeah, they're okay now, and they're okay they know I'm okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
So Go One More is obviously very meaningful to me in this brand, but I can't help just to pull the parallels between like your journey, your story, and what Go One More might mean to you outside of just fitness.
Oh yeah, has a lot.
Can you kind of like, what is that? What does Go One More mean to you? Because all I keep thinking about as you're telling the story is just like the Going More Ultra, getting through addiction and becoming sober. It has to be like one decision, one step, one day at a time,
1,000
over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah. I want to just start it with like, when I joined the company, when I joined as an ambassador, I thought it was really cool. I thought you were really cool, but I was like, whatever. Fast forward a year or two, I'm still just an ambassador. This is probably 2021 or something. I'm all in. Like, I'm starting to see, what changed everything was meeting the people, meeting the employees, getting to know you really well, and then meeting the athletes. And it was at that time, it was ambassadors. We had the ambassador program, meeting the other ambassadors. I was like, these are people who want to do what I want to do. And from that point on, I went all in. I drank the Kool-Aid and I went.
I remember that moment.
Yeah, I went all into this company. It truly, I do think it changed everything. And Nick, you're one of those people who have no idea how much you have been a part of my journey. I mean, I think I tell you almost every time, but like, let me go back to the Going More. But yes, in fitness, obviously, Going More is like my whole thing. Like I'll keep going until, and I do that to a fault almost in workouts, is that like, I'm going to do one more. I'm going to go one more and I'm going to do it as hard as I can. But then moving forward, my career, sobriety, every single thing that I've kind of accomplished has been small steps in the right direction, just one more time. Just like today, if the most I can do is just one step in the right direction, that's great. And that's fitness, that's my relationships, that's my career. It is all that. It's all just like, if the worst, and I have bad days, obviously, like I've never had a real job. Like obviously I work jobs, but like I have found my career and I get really, really stressed. Like I have real life stress now. But if all I can do is just go one more in the right direction, then it's a win. And no matter what, I do that every single day. If that's minimum, if that's all I can do, it's a win. And sometimes it is all I can do. But yeah, since sobriety, even like sobriety, one more day, what they told me was like, hey, I had my sponsors like, hey, you want to use today? Just go one more day. Tomorrow, if you still want to use. And every single time I didn't. In workouts and in marathons and in the ultra, every marathon I run, the Olympic trials, when I qualified, I said, okay, I'm stop. I got to stop. I'm stepping off the course. Okay, I'm going to go one more mile. If I still feel this way in the next mile, I'll quit. And I never do. So yes, your whole Go One More thing is literally applied in every aspect of my life.
I couldn't help but think about just like how directly tied and parallel.
Yeah.
Like you are a living example of everything we believe in and we stand for and our values. And having you a part of the team is so meaningful and important to me because you truly embody and embrace all of it.
I drank the Kool-Aid and hopped on the bandwagon and I'll be the first to admit that like I was not on the bandwagon before. I mean, I thought it was cool, but man, I went all in and really like the parallels between like my life and then my BPN life are so similar. It's like unreal because it really did. First of all, it gave me community and confidence and friends and fitness and then I started this whole thing in real estate. And it was the same kind of thing. I applied myself in the exact same way and it led to success. And I really do think that it can lead to success in anything you do.
I love watching you crush the real estate game. Dude, when you post like how many homes you sold and like leading the team, just like in such a competitive market in the space to watch you crush it. When I see you post that kind of stuff, I like under the table, I'm like, yes.
Yeah, well,
yes.
Nick, most people look at you for your athletic achievements. I do look at you for those reasons. But more so, man, it's balancing the fitness on top of running a business, on top of having a family. That's where I'm just like, role model.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, dude, that is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. And I try and do what and if you can do it, we can do it. And if you can find time, we can find time.
Yeah, I agree.
You said that once, if it's important to you, you'll make time. And that has stuck with me forever. If something's important to me, I fucking make time. As busy as I am, I don't care. I will make time if it's important.
Mitch, I'm very proud to call you a friend.
Thanks.
This conversation has been well overdue.
Yeah.
Glad we were finally able to sit down and have it.
Yeah, me too.
And just watching you grow and crush it, and watching your marriage between you and Jordy just like evolve and develop, and I'm just really happy that like, you're winning.
Thank you.
Right now, and it brings me a lot of joy.
Well, I have a lot of joy. It brings me a lot of joy being a part of all this. Like, it truly has changed. I said earlier that that there are a number of things that saved my life. Dude, BPN, man, like I seriously believe it changed everything. Like I really just, it taught me how to work. Like I had role models to follow. Remember I told you, I find the role models and I put myself there.
Yep.
I follow. I do exactly what they say. I say, how'd you do this? And I just follow it to a T. And it works, and it works wherever I'm trying to go. Every step higher I try and take, I just find someone that I want to be like. I ask them questions and I do what they do.
Mitch, brother, thank you.
Thank you.